If you've ever had an intrusive thought and then you thought, what does this say about me, with tremendous guilt, this video is especially for you. You see, most advice out there tells you to either ignore the thoughts, replace the thoughts, or let them go, whatever that means. But if that actually worked, you wouldn't be on this video, right? Now, the truth is, intrusive thoughts aren't random. They have a cause, but they feel disturbing because there's something deeper that's happening inside of you. In this video, we're going to explore, first of all, what causes these so-called intrusive thoughts, why they feel so disturbing, why trying to manage thoughts with more thoughts doesn't actually work, and then we're going to look at the two most effective ways to actually deal with them at the root level. My name is Didi, and I'm a psychologist and trauma therapist, and I started my training 20 years ago in Buddhist monasteries where we explore Buddhist psychology. So now we're going to explore what actually causes these intrusive thoughts and why they feel so personal to you. Now, most people think that intrusive thoughts just show up for no reason, but that's really not how the brain works. Your brain is reacting to something that's happening underneath the surface, whether you're aware of it or not. You see, these thoughts show up when there's an unresolved mental, emotional state underneath the surface, and these thoughts are the manifestations of this root cause. You can think of intrusive thoughts like an error message that comes up on the computer. The error message is not the actual problem, but what's happening underneath. That's a real root cause of this error message. So this thought isn't random. This is your brain trying to express something to you. But instead of focusing on the emotion, you focus on the thought itself. And this is where all the suffering begins. So here's what makes intrusive thoughts feel so scary. You feel and you think that they mean something about you. Something very personal about you. So you have a disturbing thought and then you start thinking, shit, does this mean I'm a bad person? Does this mean I'm an evil person? Does this mean I'm a violent person? And especially if you come from some religious upbringing, it can bring a lot of guilt. Then you feel the need to figure it out, prove that it's not true, or whatever it may be. So that instinctive reaction of tying it to your own identity, this is what makes it feel so personal. Now, in Buddhist psychology, the way that we explore the mind, we look at it like the sky. When I'm looking at the sky and I see clouds moving through the sky, I don't think that I am this cloud. Sometimes it's a gray cloud, sometimes there's no clouds, but the clouds are just moving through. Or another analogy, perhaps I'm looking at a river, and in this river I can see a piece of shit floating through the river. That's not personal to me. I can just tell you, hey, I see a bottle passing through the water, I see a branch, and I see a piece of shit floating through the river. But when you experience this internally in your own mind, it feels so personal. So what do you actually do? Instead of trying to get rid of these intrusive thoughts, we have to go one level deeper to the level of the emotion. So here's a 3-step process. First of all, you recognize the thought. Okay, I just had this scary thought. Second, you notice the underlying emotion. Perhaps it's violence, perhaps it's aggression, perhaps it's anger, and then you focus a few moments on feeling this underlying emotion without judgment. Somewhere in your body, there's going to be a sensation. There's going to be a feeling that's going to be unpleasant. It is inherently unpleasant to experience these underlying traumatic emotions. And then you ask yourself, let's see how long this is going to last. How long is this emotion going to last? I'm going to give you a clue. It's not going to last very long. Once you start practicing going to the root emotion, this is going to start becoming an automatic behavior for you, and that's going to start releasing more and more of these emotions. And then the cause, because the cause is resolved, the thoughts are also going to disappear slowly over time. Now let's talk about why this is especially important for men over 30 and beyond. As a man, there's a reason why intrusive thoughts and anxiety hit you in a different way. And this is not just biology, this is how you were raised. From a young age, you are taught to hide your emotions, and especially any emotion of fear or weakness. So what happens? We don't learn to actually process and express our emotions, and we just push them down more and more. But emotions, they don't just disappear, they build up in your body. So you can look at intrusive thoughts like steam that's trying to escape from this overboiling pot of water. You can think of it like a pressure cooker. Every time you suppress fear, or you suppress sadness, or you suppress your anger, or you suppress your insecurity, the pressure builds up. And intrusive thoughts, that's again the steam trying to escape. So the problem is most men, they just don't realize this. Instead, they think there's something wrong with them personally for having these thoughts. And that's very normal. I understand that. So let me say this, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just dealing with years of emotional suppression and emotional buildup in your system. Obviously, the way out is not suppressing even harder. It's not intellectualizing it. It's not trying to reframe it or let it go. It's learning to process what's been buried for years. So there are two ways of dealing with this. The first one is, as we mentioned, you go to the root emotion and you get better and better at recognizing it. Imagine like you're summarizing it into the root emotion. And the second way, which I'm going to link up for you here, is a way of releasing those pent-up emotions from your nervous system. This is a very powerful practice that I highly advise you to do. You can do this once a day, you can do this a few times a day, like an internal hygiene practice. Most people don't understand. Just like you wash your body, just like you brush your teeth, you also need an internal hygiene practice. So this internal hygiene practice is going to help you release all these suppressed emotions, and that's going to stop the intrusive thoughts. I hope you find this video useful, and I'll speak to you soon.